Chapter 14, Major Minerals, Screencast 5. This will be focusing on three major minerals, those being phosphorus, magnesium, and sulfur. The first one that we're going to talk about is phosphorus, and when we look at the RDA for adults, it's about 700 milligrams, and the daily value is 1,250 milligrams. If we look at good sources, we can see a lot of them are going to be grains and also animal products. So if we look at tuna salad, chicken breast, but also things such as baked beans, cottage cheese, yogurt, pancakes, all are relatively good sources of phosphorus. But keep in mind, you'll have to consume more than one of them to make sure that you are getting the amount of phosphorus that is actually required. 70% of phosphorus is actually absorbed in the upper small intestine by active transport and diffusion. Vitamin D will enhance this absorption, and this happens in the form of phytates. It is poorly absorbed. So grains and legumes will have problems and have a negative impact on the absorption of phosphorus. Now, 80% of phosphorus is actually found in the bones and teeth in the form of hydroxyapatite. It is excreted by the kidneys, and levels are going to be regulated by parathyroid hormone along with calcium. The function is primarily a component of bone and teeth, but we need to keep in mind that it is critical to the function of every cell. It is the primary intracellular anion in the form of phosphate. We also know phosphorus is important because it's a part of ATP, creatine phosphate, DNA and RNA, phospholipids, other enzymes and cellular messengers, and it also will play a role in the regulation of acid-base balance as a negatively charged ion. Now, the deficiency of phosphorus is especially rare, but it's something that can contribute to bone loss, decreased growth, and poor tooth development. Symptoms of a phosphorus deficiency include anorexia, weight loss, weakness, irritability, stiff joints, and pain. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is when we are addressing deficiencies and toxicities, notice that many of them have very, very vague symptoms, and they are especially difficult to diagnose. Now, toxicity is rare, but this is something that could cause calcium phosphate precipitates to form in tissues. The upper level for phosphorus is actually set at 3 to 4 grams per day. Now, magnesium is another really important mineral, and if we look at good sources, we can look at lots of nuts, okay, but also some fatty fish such as halibut. So very many foods actually can provide magnesium for us. 30 to 40% of that magnesium that is consumed is absorbed in the small intestine by both passive and active transport processes. Efficiency can increase when intakes are low, along with vitamin D. 50% of magnesium is found in bones, and the regulation of calcium in our blood is regulated by the kidneys. The functions, keep in mind, it is the second most abundant intracellular cation. It will help stabilize ATP. It is part of the enzyme that pumps sodium out of the cells and potassium in. It contributes to bone structure and mineralization, and it is especially needed for nerve transmission, the synthesis of DNA and RNA, heart and smooth muscle contraction, and also glucose and insulin metabolism. Deficiencies of magnesium include irregular heartbeat, weakness, muscle spasms, disorientation, nausea and vomiting, seizures, and also decreased levels of parathyroid hormone. The upper level for magnesium is set at 350 milligrams per day. There is evidence that consuming levels above this can actually result in diarrhea. The last major mineral that we're going to talk about is sulfur, and this is provided by sulfur-containing amino acids like methionine and cysteine. There is no adequate intake RDA or upper level that has been established for sulfur. It is required for the synthesis of sulfur-containing compounds, the regulation of acid-base balance, and also the stabilization of protein structures. This is the final slide for Chapter 14, and it is a summary of the major minerals. Now, keep in mind, this is where I typically go on an exam when I'm asking questions about major functions, dietary sources, deficiency symptoms, and also toxicity symptoms.